Asian people are finding out the hard reality. Asian people are getting up the wake up calls. Asian people are now surprised, and apart from that, they are now admitting they now want to put themselves in the same line as black. Asian people are now admitting now that we are blacks. There is nothing we can do. No matter how we try to twist it, no matter how we try to turn it, no matter how we try to make it look like we are not black, we are black. They're not coming into that reality that they have literally rejected. You know, the moment all of this racism thing started trending, one of the people that literally associated themselves as well with white people, thinking proximity to whiteness is actually white, is this Asian people. But anyways, who am I? Let me allow you guys to watch all of the clip I have for you guys. Credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. With that being said, let's roll out the clip. I'll be back with commentaries.
Told you that there are Asians who look like this, yet are genetically more similar to those who look like these, without any African ancestry at all? Let me explain. When people think of the typical East Asian look, they often think of people from East Asian countries like Japan and Korea, or from Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia or the Philippines. These groups belong to the Neo-East Asian branch. However, many are surprised to learn that there are also Asians who look like this. Let me explain. Modern West and East Eurasians descend from a Proto-Eurasian group that diverged from other lineages around 80,000 to 100,000 years ago, with the out-of-Africa migration occurring approximately 60,000 years ago. Ancient East Eurasians, ancestral to modern East Eurasians, split from West Eurasians and Basal Eurasians around 50,000 years ago. Ancient East Eurasians began to split into different groups around 40,000 years ago. This led to the formation of ancestral South Indians, as well as the East and Southeast Asian lineages, including the Andamanese people and Neo-East Asians, who again gave birth to Native Americans. Papuans and Aboriginal Australians also belong to a separate branch that diverged from the East Eurasian core around 40,000 years ago, but carry additional Denisovan ancestry and a possible ghost ancestry from an Homo sapien-like population from before the out-of-Africa migration. Neo-East Asians went through genetic drift and selective pressures as they moved north, which gave them traits like lighter skin and straighter hair, compared to the Andamanese and other more basal East Asian groups who stayed near the equator and did not face the same selective pressures. Despite their phenotypic differences, all of these East Asian lineages share a closer genetic relationship to each other than to any non-Asian lineages. Together, they represent the main branches of the East Eurasian core lineage, which began to rapidly diversify around 40,000 years ago.
Yep, Asian people have always been African. What people seem to forget is that all human life, human meaning color, people of color, okay, people of melanin, we all came from Africa. And if you go and do your research, you will find out that the oldest ethnic group, okay, is the Khoisan people and the Sans. Both of which, if you go and look at pictures and images of these people, they would look as what people would call today Asian-like. They look Asian, but they're not Asian, they're African. Upon further research, people should know that all African women, or what people call today black women, have the Eve gene. The Eve gene has the capability of reproducing any human being of any color, of any race, whatever constructs that humans have done created and now believe in. But y'all got to remember that these constructs of races, right, Asians, Americans, right, Indians, all of these different things are just constructs to separate us. Because they know, they have always known that if we, the people of melanin, because we are magic, okay, that if we were to be united and we knew our power, right, they wouldn't stand a chance against us. That's exactly why there are certain systems in place to oppress people of color. And that is why racial injustice and social injustice was not brought to a national platform until after the death of George Floyd. Because we all knew that racism existed. We all knew that racial injustices existed. We all knew that there's a system in place for these injustices. However, nobody actually talked about it because there weren't enough people that basically had the balls to come out and talk about this shit. Even in instances of Asian culture, there are traces of African descent. A lot of people got to remember that being black, okay, is a construct that was put on you. You believe that you are black because they got you picking black for a checkbox when you're supposed to pick your race. They want us caught up on titles such as black, Asian, white, Hispanic, right? So that we forget that we are all human beings. And when you're in close proximity with both races, you will find that oftentimes they both have very similar mannerisms in the culture, in the preferences of food, etc., etc.
In Japan, they had black kings and dark-skinned women queens. Before they bleached the bloodline of the Meiji dynasty, you had the Kuru, the black kings. Yeah, look it up. Kuru means black, means king. Same word they use now for the black paint, it used to mean us. Ever heard of the Jomon? People with thick hair, dark skin and broad faces? They were the original islanders. Every archaeologist worth their student loan knows it. The bones don't lie, but the university paychecks do. Check the Toko University digs. They literally found Afro-texture hair impressions in ancient pottery. Receipts, baby. Then you add the Satsuma and the Ryukyu, nobles down in Okinawa. Darker than half your cousins on the funeral day in July. They traded with Africa and Indonesia before Europe could even spell ship. You want sources? Look at the Portuguese travel logs from the 1500s. They describe the rulers as brown and tattooed like Moors. And don't get me started on the black Buddhist monks coming from Sri Lanka and India. They're the ones who taught martial arts in China before Bruce Lee, the great master, could even became a thesis topic. Shaolin didn't start with no pale-balled action and kung fu movies. Go look up the Bodhi drama. He ain't white, he ain't this Asian. That man looked like he eat fufu for breakfast before they painted everybody pale and pretended we ain't never exist. The rulers of the East look more like your aunties and uncles after a hot summer day. These were the Jomon queens, Shane kings, Okinawa sea lords, black shogun, the Moorish monarchs who ran the Silk Road before silk even had a price tag. But then the Meiji boys got insecure. China started bleaching its history books. The Mongols got whitewashed, like they dropping a bucket full of baby powder. Everybody want to act like Asia been pale since Shah Dynasty. Lies. Before the erasure, Europeans were still writing about black nobles in Japan, calling them Moorish Asiatics, and drawing them with afros, broad noses, and rural kimonos. This is our history. Follow for more. Instagram Fuel for the Body, TikTok, Ibrahim Masim. Want to speak to university, just DM me. Or if you want me to speak life to you while my chef-ass cooks for you, DM me as well. I travel.
What I've noticed is that none of this has to do with my quote-unquote black scent. But it has to do more with people feeling like only African Americans are allowed to sound a certain way. And this actually ties in with the whole, stereotype of angry black woman or black people always being loud or just certain stereotypes that demonize, okay, or try to take away from the passion that people have. It's very clear that the majority of the people that are actually upset about this kind of thing are really just upset because I'm passionate about what I'm talking about, okay? And it reminds them of other people that are passionate about the things that they are passionate about. And those people happen to be African American. But the most interesting thing that I would say is that if my skin color was different, if I was black, people would still have something to say. So it has very little to do with who I am as a person, how I'm coming off, whatever. And it has 100% to do with y'all and how you view yourself and how 9 times out of 10, you might have been demonized or looked down upon, right, for embodying all that you are. And now that somebody else is embodying all that they are, you feel some type of way because you weren't accepted for it, yet I am. And that's an issue that we need to talk about as a society. Because this whole construct of African American, quote unquote, black people in America, quote unquote, gatekeeping certain things, right, is really just a way for people to give reparations to themselves. It's really a way to keep the focus off of who is actually responsible for the oppression, for the demonizing, for the looking down upon of culture. And then instead of addressing the actual issue, we're pointing fingers at each other, which is exactly what they want us to do. Because what a lot of people need to realize is that they make black people in America feel like they've got over on so many occasions that they need to have something. When that something should be equality. When that something should be equal opportunity. Don't let your ego distract you from the actual issue at hand. So since everybody's mind was blown about the fact that Asian people are actually African, let's get into how the Bible is actually all from Kemet. This statue right here is a depiction of the world's first multi-genius, Imhotep. And he was the chief advisor to the pharaoh. He was also the scribe. He was also an astronomer as well as a physician. He was a priest, and he was also known as the father of medicine. So Joseph, as everybody knows, is Jesus' dad, right? His character in the Bible was actually modeled after Imhotep. And the plan to raise the taxes 10% for the 7 years of famine and 7 years of plenty was actually real. He came up with it. In the Bible, they flipped it. They did 20% tax, and it was 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine. One of the most popular stories from the Bible is when Moses saved the Jews from Egypt, right? He saved them from slavery. But what they don't tell you in the Bible is why they were slaves. The Semites, aka the Jews, had assimilated into Kemet. They brought their family over there, and they were like, oh, this is such a nice place. You know, everything is cool here. Everybody got a job. They gave me a job. I have a place to stay. Let's move our family over here. And that's what they did. They moved their people over to, Kemet. And then they tried to rebel against the government. And they actually won due to the technology that they had at that time. And they actually ruled over Kemet for 100 years until the Nubians, or the people from the kingdom of Cush, which is actually mentioned in the Bible in Isaiah 37:9 and in 2 Kings 19:9. It speaks about the kingdom of Cush. So we all know the story of Mary and Joseph, Immaculate Conception, and then Jesus, as well as Cain and Abel. So all of that is actually based off of Kemetic myths. I wrote out the names and stuff so y'all can actually go fact check me. So this is the royal family. Queen Aset and King Asar were married. He had a brother named Set. Okay, Set kills Asar out of jealousy. What does that sound like? Cain and Abel, right? And so after he kills Asar, he chops his brother up into 14 different pieces and throws it into the Nile. His wife, Aset, goes and picks up all the different pieces, wraps him up. That's where we get the first mummy from. And then he comes back alive in spirit. Aset then gets pregnant by Asar, but now he's known as Osiris because he came back. Okay, so she got pregnant by the spirit and gave birth to Haru. Haru is actually where we get the word hero from. Part 2 of Kemetic and Bible history. So essentially, Asar, Osiris, and Haru is where we get the Father, Haru the Son, and Osiris the Holy Spirit. So as we know, Set kills Asar, right? So Haru is not cool with that because that's his uncle killing his dad. And this is where we get the allegory of good versus evil, or the higher self versus ego. So Set represents the ego, okay? That's going to be anger, jealousy, greed, all of what we call the lower vibrational emotions. And Haru, where we get the word hero from, is our higher self or our consciousness, our godliness, okay? It speaks to the fact that we are all children of God, which is very interesting because when you look at the story of Jesus, a lot of that story actually alludes to the fact that each and every one of us is Jesus. Each and every single one of us has been reborn as a human being. And it is us that lives and dies for our sins. So the Egyptians, as many people of that time, okay, were agriculturally evolved. Meaning they didn't have to keep on moving from place to place in order to get food. They were able to grow their own food. What is the source of all plant life? The sun. So the god the original god in Kemet mythology is Amen-Ra. Many of y'all have heard about Ra, the sun god, right? So in the Bible, the story of Jesus is told in 4 books, which is Matthew, Luke, Mark, and John. Now you're probably like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Because we have 4 seasons. And of course, if you were an ancient Kemet, right, what would be the most obvious thing for you to thank or give thanks to? The sun. Now we got to remember that the ancient Kemites were melanated people, so they can be in the actual sun. Now white people, they couldn't pray to the sun, so they prayed to the sun, aka Jesus. You following me here? Jesus had what? 12 disciples. We got 12 months and 12 zodiac signs. Now let's just get into timelines just a little bit. The Kemetic government ruled for over 3,500 years. So 3,500 years, over that. Just as a point of reference, the United States has been only around for about 200 years, and the longest empire that everybody talks about, the Roman Empire, was only 400 years. So just let all of that marinate. Just
Yeah. Local. No, they have 2 languages. Thai language.
Language language.
I want to learn and to go. Okay.
Cái
Okay. And what is rice?
Right, cao vậy đó.
Nasi. Okay. Okay. All right.
Tap ở. Boy.
The house is haboy. Oh, okay. All right.
Cross Bayou. Bayou.
The t-shirt is bayuk. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh.
Sawai.
What they believe in?
No.
No, X. Ask them what they believe in. No, X.
ปกติเนี่ยเชื้อเกี่ยวกับต้นไม้เจ้าที่เจ้าทางอะไรไหมฮะแปลว่าShe called tree is Yahoo.
Yahoo. Okay, can we go inside? Let me go here. It's raining, guys.
It's not hard. It's not hard for me as a Chinese person to admit that I came from melanin. The original Chinese, just like the original of everybody, were dark-skinned melanated beings. For all the people I've been fighting the past few weeks, there is 1% of natives that will come out and say, hey, yeah, we know. It's in our history. 1%. And really, did I not have to tell you? Because a lot of y'all are in denial, so it felt like I have to tell you. If it doesn't apply to your tribe, let it slide. Say to yourself, well, that wasn't us, and move on. It's that simple. The rest of them want to come spouting bullshit and lies, and blatant racism and threats. Because unlike us, their whole existence depends on these lies. Which is a them problem. They don't respect Chinese people, so they think they can come talk to me however they want on my page. I have blocked and deleted people of every race for doing that. My existence is a political statement. Chinese women were forced into the stereotype that we are submissive. We are one of the most disrespected groups of women on the planet. And even though it scares a lot of my fellow Asians, I am setting the example for how to command respect as an Asian woman. And for the first time ever, that has been received in a positive way. And it's because I'm standing on the right side of history. And thank you for your support and all the people saying lovely, nice things for me. I can't respond to my comments because of some glitch. It is 100% not a TikTok strike. But yes, these are for you. And everybody else showing me love. And again, I can't take credit for any of the things that I have said. I've learned it all from you. I just figured their xenophobia would be very, very triggered, and wow, I was correct.
It's easier to talk about white people and how, you know, there's so much evidence that shows that they were engineered, right? With the cloning, with the, you know, the orphan trains, the whole Cabbage Patch Kids thing, like all of these things, their DNA, the fact that their melanin was reduced, the fact that they have the same uniform traits, specific genome editings universally. But then we always speak about the white people. But then guys, where I loop around is the Asians, right? Because what about the Asians? Because the Asians, they say that the original Asians were African, and you can tell by that because there's African indigenous populations within Asia, right? So, but my thing is, so where did that the Ida genes, yeah, that dead straight black hair, coarse hair come from with the shovel teeth, and like, where did those features, where did that uniformity that sweeps across East Asia, the paler skin, where does that come from? Because it swept, because remember, it's a uniform, it went, right? So we're always talking, and that's what confuses me, because they're older, right? The Asians, or whatever, like, they seem to be older, right? They seem older than the white people, right? Not the black people, but the white people. So how many resets was there, right? Because we know that Asians got even paler with the supposed Aryan invasion and all of that stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? The North Indians or whatever, that's what they got paler, etc., etc. They got them genes or whatever, blah, blah. But what about because remember, they've got dead straight hair from China, Japan, India, all of those, the Philippines, all of them people there weren't the indigenous populations. And you can tell by that, because when you go into their ancient temples and all of this stuff, you can see Afro features, etc., etc. The founding populations, even when you go look into their history and all of this stuff, like there's actually loads of books and information about this, right? But this is what confuses me the most. So it's either there was multiple resets, right? But I feel like, because obviously whatever goes on with the Asians as well, with Arabs, we already know, because Arabs are literally just a mixture. Arabs are literally mixed race people. Because Arabs are a mixture of everything, African, Asian, and Caucasian, right? So that's why with Arabs, it's not really a thing like that to research, like, oh, what about the Arabs? Because they're a mixture of everything. So when we figure out what happened in Eurasia.
No, that in America, the Asians are considered black people. In law, they're considered black people. So you remember yesterday when I said this?
Nazis like the Afrocentric Asian, half man, half amazing.
And I alluded to the fact that Asians might be Negroes by saying this. Now, the British almost exclusively referred to all dark people as Negro, which is Negro with an E. What I was really getting at was the atrociousness of European. And I read you this, that the word black may include all Negroes, spelled with an E, but the term Negro does not include all black persons. Interesting, because this case law is specifically saying that there are some black people that are not Negroes. And the case is about a Chinese man who's Asian, who they consider black, that they will not let testify against a white man. Like, bro, just read it. It's right there. Like I posted it yesterday. It's right there. Pause and read it.
There's a fundamental misunderstanding, as you've been pointing out, of what it means to be black.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching all of that video. And the truth is, that is why it is not good for you to despise any race. That is why it is not good for you to look down on any single race. A lot of white folks, a lot of Asians, I will keep saying it, identify themselves, wanted this close proximity with white people until a lot of them as well started going into research, understanding that that particular proximity you're going through, it doesn't mean you do not have this lineage. For me, I would have even preferred, honestly, they don't have anything to be attached with black people. I can tell you for a whole fact, because a lot of them, there is nothing they have literally not said about black people, but just for the sake of those ones that are good, for the few ones that are good in Asian, let's get into it. The history of Asian and their connection to black people is a deep and a complex story that goes far beyond simple categories. It involves ancient human origin, migration, culture, trade, and shared struggles. Now, the first one is the common origin, which is the humanity began in Africa. Now, modern humans, Homo sapiens, originated in Africans over the 200,000 years ago. Now, around the 6,000 to 70,000 years ago, some group migrated out of Africa in what's known as the out of African migration. These people moved into Asia, Europe, and other parts of the world. This means all Asian and all human population ultimately share African ancestries. Now, let's talk about the second one, which is the evolution of physical differences. As humans spread into different environments, skin color, hair texture, facial features adapt to the climate and geographics. For example, a dark skin remained common in equatorial region, Africa, South Asian part of the Southeast Asia. Now, lighter skin develop in areas with less sunlight, East Asian, Europe. These differences are adaptation, not separate origin. Now let's talk about the third one, which is the early black population in Asia, where many people do not realize that some of the earliest Asians were dark skinned. Example includes the Adivasi in India, the Negrito people in places like the Philippines and Malaysia, and the Adamunagis people. Now, this group has future often associated with African population, represents some of the oldest human lineage in Asia. Let's talk about the fourth one, where the Asian trade and cultural exchange begins, where Africans and Asians have interacted for thousands of years. Indian Ocean trade, where the Indian Ocean trade network connects East African to the Middle East, Indian, and the Southwest Asian, where goods, people, and ideas moved across region. Now let's talk about the Swahili coast, where along East Africa cities like Swahili coast has strong Asian influence, Arab, Persian, Indian, etc. This creates mixed culture, language, and ancestries. Let's talk about the fifth one, where they share religious and cultural link, where Islam spread from the Middle East into both African and Asian by trade, where Buddhism and other philosophies moved across Asian and influenced parts of Africa, where culture blending helps through migration and intermarriages. Let's talk about the system where the colonialism and share struggles begin, where during European expansion, both blacks and Asian were colonized by power like United Kingdom, France, and others. Now, people in both regions experience exploitation, forced labor, cultural suppression. This creates shared history struggles against colonial rules. The seventh one, where the modern connection and solidarity begins in the 20th centuries, where leaders from Africa and Asians worked together against colonialism. A major movement was the Banduri Conference in Indonesia. It brought together Asian and African nations to promote unity and independence. Asian and Black people are broad social categories and precise biological group. Asian itself is extremely diverse, from India to China to Japan and to the Middle East. Not all Asians are closely related to recent history, just like not all African groups are the same, and not all Black Americans come from Africa. Now let's talk about the final insights, where the connection between the Asian and Black people can be understood in three ways. The biological way, which is where the shared Africa origins of all humans. Second, which is a historical way, where immigration, trade, and interaction begin. The third one, where political/cultural shared experience under colonialism and global system. Now, why am I bringing this? I'm bringing this video for educational purposes because in as much as a lot of Asians never valued Black people, they never see Black people as something they think they are close to, they also have this origin. And that is why now that they're getting the wake-up call, a lot of Black people are now saying, no, please do not get the wake-up call. Just stay on your lane. Just keep identifying with white people. But anyways, let me know what you think about all of this, and credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in at this episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And thank you so much for staying stick and hook with me. And guys, with that being said, with no further ado, like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be seeing back, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.